Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumours that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Ali AI. Start your free trial now.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Hello, how are we doing? Good? My name is Eoin. I'm a senior industry manager at Google in the UK. And yeah, I'm going to try to talk to you today about different ways that B2B marketers can drive more value for their business or their clients, or at least do better communicating the value they're already creating for their businesses. Before I start, I've heard before that your presentation tends to go really well if you can make your audience say yes 3 times throughout your talk. So if we could just try that very quickly, please. Could I get 3 yeses? 1, 2, 3. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Do you like Google? Better. That was a trick question. Well done. Okay, why I think that I'm qualified to talk about this topic today. I've been knocking around at Google for the last 10 years, the last 5 of which I've worked just within the tech B2B industry, which is really, really interesting. And I've worked with some of the biggest tech B2B brands in the space, and I get a glimpse into how these marketing teams operate, what they do really well, and what I think they could do maybe a little bit better. So I have a nice insight onto the world of B2B marketing. I think the one thing to say is I'm not a specialist, and I'm not going to pretend to be today. So if you're looking at like under the hood at Google and what's next and what's coming, you're going to be severely disappointed by this talk, unfortunately. I'm also not speaking on behalf of my company today, so that allows me to talk a little bit more openly, and it also allows me to avoid difficult questions at the end, which is quite nice. I am here because I'm a Brighton local. I have been living here for the last 2 years. This is an amazing event. I love marketing. I love the challenge of B2B marketing. I think anybody who's in this space, can I get a show of hands who is either serves as a client of B2B marketing or is an in-house B2B marketer? Amazing. Well, unreal, brilliant. So it's a really challenging space to be in. There's a lot more complexity, a lot more stale data, longer sales cycles. So it's very challenging but very rewarding. So if I can share just one nugget that resonates with one person in the room that can make a change next week, then it's worthwhile me standing up and chatting. So again, you could sort of reposition my talk to be more of like an overheard by B2B marketers over the last few years using my experience. Now, you've probably seen this slide a little bit, maybe every year for the last 5 years. So apart from all the challenges that you might have within the ads ecosystem of maybe everything moving towards, AI-powered solutions, again, lack of control, I'm hearing in recent talks, you also massive shift on the B2B buyer journey over the last few years. You have nearly 50% of all B2B purchases happening online today, which is crazy when you look at sort of pre-COVID era on B2B. You have, I think, 64% of B2B decision makers are now either millennial or Gen Z. That's a massive new native digital audience coming into the buying committees. And there was recent research from, I think, Google and Bain that said that the average buying committee is now made up of 17 stakeholders in each buying committee for each decision. So there's complexities on both ends, on the ads ecosystem and also on the buying side, again, which makes it a very challenging time to be a B2B marketer. There are ways that I think that we can help. I think that we can help prove the value that we're showing to our businesses and our clients, because at the moment, the big problem I see is that because of the long sales cycle, the complexity of the journey, it's very hard to prove the value that we're creating for our businesses, right? And that results in paid media marketing being viewed as a cost center and not a growth driver. And that won't change unless we can bridge the gap between the metrics that we show and report on and the value that we're bringing back to the business. So there's 3 areas that I'll talk about as quick as I can. I'll try to cover this in the next 15 and 58 seconds. We'll talk about reporting, and we'll talk about how we can use more of a common language outside of marketing, outside of paid media, to make sure that we land those messages and the value we're creating in the boardroom and outside of marketing. On the paid side, we're going to talk more about how can we bridge that gap between metrics that we see in accounts and the business value that we're creating at the end of the day, whether that be revenue, profit, annual recurring revenue, lifetime value, whatever the objective is. And then lastly, we'll look at how some of the best B2B marketing firms have structured their teams. Firstly, on creating a common language. If you were caught in an elevator with, let's say, the most senior person in your company or agency that you have exposure to on Monday morning, they said, "What have you done for me last week? What have you done for the company?" Would you be confident of giving them like an answer in, 1 or 2 sentences without confusing them? I probably wouldn't, I'm being honest. I'd probably give them 3 acronyms and a headache, and that's usually what happens. And the main reason here is that the B2B marketing language that you use today does not land in the boardroom, and it doesn't even land in beyond the marketing department. So there is a real opportunity as us as specialists and paid marketing specialists to try to translate some of the great work we're doing that reaches beyond the marketing department and into the boardroom to get a seat at the table when asking for more money or for when decisions are being made. So using a common language across the business and being aligned to the company's objectives is key. And a few steps to get there are as follows. So the first thing you can do is really, really understand that true business objective that the client or your company is trying to drive. And I'm not just talking about increasing leads or conversions or increasing sales. It's like, what growth rate are we looking for in the company for next year? Secondly, what is marketing's contribution for that growth, right? What's marketing's target to contribute to that overall business decision or that business vision? Then, from a marketing point of view, how can you really refine the metrics that your team currently uses that show value? So when you're talking to teams outside of marketing, what are the top 5, 6 metrics that genuinely show value and will resonate outside of your team? Then translate it for the business. Use your marketing BS translator and make it easy and understandable for everybody, and then communicate it everywhere. So, seeing as let's say we've done the first 2 points, just an example of an exercise that a lot of companies have done. It's a fun little exercise of sort of plotting out all of your metrics that you currently use with paid search, from ones that are really tactical to ones that are really strategic, and the recency of time that it takes for that to get into the account, right? You'll be surprised that you actually probably look at a lot more than you should, and then you can divvy it up into what are the type of metrics that are, let's say, more tactical and they come in real time that can be automated. What are the ones that we're going to show for reporting, analysis, and then every 6 months, what are we going to look at to pulse check on how the business is performing? Things like share of search, profit per channel, etc. For reporting, if we want to show our good work outside of the business, and let's say our business objective here is 20% incremental annual revenue for FY25, we might land on an example of these, let's say, 5 metrics that we think add value. So how much we're spending, how many downloads or micro conversions we're getting, what's our cost per lead for that, are they turning into MQLs, marketing qualified leads, are they turning into sales qualified leads? Make sense? We all understand that. We refine our metrics down to what we think are valuable. Then, depending on the business that you're in, you still need to translate it so people can understand that outside of marketing. And this is just an example, right? People have different terminology in their companies. But, cost turns into investment, contact us as leads, MQLs for sales teams and the commercial teams, that's all about sales pipeline. If it's turning into sales qualified leads, you then need to be talking about sales opportunity revenue. And again, it's not a TROS or a target CPA, it's more around the cost per opportunity or overall return. They're very simple things, but they do make a big difference when communicating your value outside your team. Next step then, we just whack it in a dashboard and make sure that it's communicated everywhere. So again, if there's not a paid media profit revenue sales pipeline dashboard, if it doesn't exist, it's a good opportunity. You can also use proxy values where necessary, make sure it's accessible for those like senior audiences, and only include those metrics that you're comfortable with and genuinely provide value to the business. This is one step to making sure that people view our amazing work as a growth driver and we're not a cost to the business. So again, just sum up on that, make sure we identify and align activity with business objectives, communicate business value, not metrics, whack it at a dashboard and make sure we're shouting about the good work we do. All right, on to paid strategy. So then from metrics to value. On a day-to-day, when we're in accounts, when we're devising our paid search strategy, what can we do to close that gap between metrics and value? Please don't screenshot this slide because I'll probably get fired if I'm also in it as well, because out of context it looks really bad. But why should you care? So at the moment, no matter whether you are a small business or you spend 20 million a quarter on advertising and you're using Google Ads, everybody has access to the same tools. It's the same platform, the same targeting, the same features that arrive, give or take a beta that you might have wangled your way onto, you might get access a few months earlier. But everybody has access to the same solutions and doing things. So then where is your competitive advantage? Where does it lie as a B2B company? Well, you can follow Google best practices. It's great. You can have high conversion rates. This isn't my slide. I took this and I laugh when it says just go in and have high conversion rates. I think that's quite easy to say. But I suppose you have some control over PPC landing pages, over your form fills to influence. But the best, most single thing you can do to drive value within your campaigns is to share the best estimate of economic value back with the ads platforms and truly understand what that means for the business. That is your competitive advantage. It's important to get this right. So take this as an example. You have brand X and brand Y generating leads, and you can see the CPA there. I mean, show of hands for which company you think is performing best here. Hands up for brand Y. Yeah, hands up for brand X. Okay, so you would think majority are saying CPA of $22, 90,000 leads, that's great. But again, if the business objective that we're going for is sales and revenue, it looks a lot different when we bring in our values in there. And then we look at a return on ad spend, and it looks very different. However, then the company, you find out that we're actually focused on increasing profits this year, and the picture looks drastically different. So depending on what that business outcome that you're trying to achieve, the way you optimize and feed your campaigns changes. So it's important to get this right from the very start. And of course, I don't need to explain this. This is value-based optimization or value-based bidding. I'm not going to go into detail because you know more about it than I do. But I think what we want to do is we want to move to a phase where we are sort of moving into, from ROAS up, whether it's optimizing towards some kind of value of a lead, whether that's lead scoring or it's a proxy for annual recurring revenue, or you have a very sophisticated model for lifetime value. One step more than what we're currently doing is going to be better. It doesn't have to be perfect. And how you start this is by mapping out the sales journey and the lead journey. That's the first step you can take. Identify those valuable touch points that you think will lead to some kind of business value in the future that's outside of a shallow conversion or just a form fill. So the online sales journey is quite easy. You can probably end-to-end online. Revenue values come back in, you can bring that straight into the platform. Amazing. For a lead to sale journey, it might look very different. It probably will go offline to a sales rep, go into a CRM, and be floating around there for a while. So that's a little bit more tricky to bring that back in, and you encounter stale data and stuff like that that you have to address. But there are ways that you can bring this back in. And I think don't let this long sales cycle put you off, right? You don't have to get to a closed deal to bring that back in. You just have to get to what is the most valuable point along the journey that's not shallow, but that doesn't go offline or doesn't get too complicated, or it's not stale, that still adds value to the business by optimizing towards. It doesn't have to be the end sale. And what's important to remember with this type of project is it takes time. I think from working with some clients, they can take from 6 months to a year, sometimes longer, especially when you look at like offline conversion upload for B2B businesses, and you encounter a lot of problems. But the things to keep in mind is that proximity to the final sale is important, so that the closest you can get to the final sale, the better. But if not, make sure you have conversion volume. I think on average is about between 15 to 30 conversions a month that you get from that action, and that it's a short delay. So we'd say within 14 days. So if you look at this example here, you're probably looking at the best, most valuable signal to bring in would be a marketing qualified lead within 14 days because you're getting enough volume and it comes in recently. So there's things to do, but it all starts with mapping out your lead to sale journey. your first-party data is your competitive advantage. Value-based optimization is difficult, but it definitely is possible for B2B. Definitely. And we can all start by mapping out the lead to sale journey. Lastly, has anybody had experience with revenue marketing squads or revenue marketing teams? Show of hands. Some people, yeah. Great. So Google and Bain recently did a study in the US, and they surveyed about 1,000 B2B marketers, and they looked at which firms are growing and which firms weren't growing so much, and then they looked at what are the characteristics of each. And they found all the usual suspects, right? We're probably more leaning into AI, maybe fluid budgets, automation, all that stuff. But in terms of team structure, they found that those high growth B2B firms operated in a marketing revenue squads fashion. What this means is it's an approach that makes marketing more agile, gives a company a clearer view of the entire customer experience, and accurately gauge the impact of the marketing campaign. Yes, okay, that's great, but what actually is it? It is breaking down those silos between just paid search, your finance teams, your product teams, and your sales teams. And it doesn't have to be very rigid, it can act very dynamically, right? So this is an example of how we see these working. So again, more mature B2B companies, they've ring-fenced dedicated agile teams. So for, let's say, a PMAX launch, a lot of chat about PMAX, positive and negative today, but I'll take it. PMAX launch, something that's probably very important to the business and might be risky. I've seen clients and agencies in the past make sure that they have somebody from paid search, sales, product and finance catching up once every 2 weeks to get a pulse check on how leads are performing. Is there any feedback from sales team to marketing? How is finance viewing it? Are we doing well? Can we get more budget? The product team is wondering how these messages land in market. Everybody gets a piece of the pie from these sort of agile marketing squads put in place for key launches. It can also be put in place for like just very important campaigns that you're running as well. So again, those benefits that everybody gets is that for marketing, you get real-time feedback from sales on are the leads that we're actually funneling up, do they matter? And are they of good quality? The sales team hopefully will get better quality leads because we're talking to everybody a lot more. Finance, you're getting reduced friction, delays on planning, invoicing, and probably make it easier to ask for money if it's working well. And in terms of the product teams, they get real-time feedback on their product positioning as well. So, revenue marketing teams or squads, better understanding of the customer journey, stronger collaboration with sales and finance, and faster decision making and execution. Closing thoughts, I'm not going to go through everything. I covered loads, and I could stand up and chat around here for ages, so I'll be around afterwards if anybody has any more questions. But again, there's definitely opportunity within B2B marketing to raise the conversations we're having outside of our teams, to prove the value that we're already providing, moving more from metrics to value within our paid search accounts, and also restructuring our teams to optimize more towards agile marketing squads rather than siloed teams as well. So I'll probably close on this slide, because if you didn't take away anything from this talk, that's fine. But another talk that you may have taken something from, this is a nice slide to put up as a closing, which is the two things that people hate the most are change and things not changing. So if you have picked up something over the last few hours up here that you think is worth doing, just go ahead and make that change next week. So I think there's nothing more than sitting here and being frustrated about nothing changing. I think ships are safe in the harbour, but they're meant to be out sailing the seas. So if you see something that's really cool, you want to give it a go and change it next week, please do. Thank you very much.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.